Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cloud Wars Live. We're exploring the digital revolution and all its crazy manifestations here in 2021. Last year was one where everything changed, turned upside down. This year seems to be one when there's a lot more that's changing, a lot of progress on all sorts of fronts, but life seems to be perhaps returning a little bit more to normal. But the business world continues to move forward at an incredible pace. There's disruptions everywhere. Today, we've got a new guest on Cloud Wars Live. It's my good friend, longtime collaborator, sometime colleague, John Foley. And John has come up with a great new editorial product. It's called the Cloud Database Report. And John is an award-winning journalist. He has led the content teams at Oracle, at IBM, at MongoDB, and he set off on his own to explore lots of new things and be his own boss for all. John Foley, welcome to Cloud Wars Live.
Hey, Bob. Thank you. It's great to join you here. You and I have had hundreds of conversations together over the years. It's fun to be able to open it up for more people to hear what we have to say and to open it up a bit. So, looking forward to it.
John, thanks. So, you posted an article the other day on Cloud Wars, and it was about the cloud database market in general, but particularly, you said just in the month of January, there was a whole lot going on there. Would you want to start there, John, sort of give an overview of that? And then feel free to talk about in overall, based on what's going on out there in the market, why you've decided to launch Cloud Database Report.
Yeah, great. Okay, Bob, that's a good place to start. So I have been following and participating in the database market for 25 years. First as a database reporter in tech journalism, and then actually working, as you said, with database companies for the last few years. So I've been a part of the market for a long time, and honestly, I've never seen the pace of innovation, the pace of change that we're seeing right now. And so, after 2020, it was interesting to see in January of 2021 all that's happening just to kick off the year. And my sense is that this is going to be the pace at which the cloud database market operates for as far as we can see. There's just so much happening here. So, just to kind of to recap a few of the things we've seen recently. And I would encourage anyone to just read the blog post on Cloud Wars because, as you say, we talk more about this. But first of all, the market is growing, and there's this big transition underway from traditional on-premises databases to cloud databases. Gartner recently said that, or predicted that 75% of all databases will be deployed or migrated to the cloud by the end of next year. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. So just think about that. 75% of all databases in the cloud by the end of next year. So that just kind of like shows the pace at which on-premises databases are migrating and new databases are being built. And then, you can see the anecdotal evidence when you look at the vendors' earnings, quarterly earnings. Snowflake's most recent quarter revenue growth of 115%. In the cloud database market, a lot of the things that we see are not just double digit, but triple digit and quadruple digit sometimes growth. So this is what we're seeing. Even Oracle, which some people may think of as a traditional on-premises database company, had 64% growth in its autonomous database for its most recent quarter. Okay, so the market is sweeping along, accelerating, you could say, and that's one of the things we're seeing. Then the sheer amount of development and new product announcements. AWS at the reInvent had more than 20 announcements, and Andy Jassy said at the time that the Aurora database is the fastest growing service in the history of AWS. So there too, you can just see the pace of change, and that's happening in other places. I think it was last week, we saw we're seeing investment, right? So Cockroach Labs was on the receiving end of $160 million in capital investment within the past few weeks. And then Databricks came in with $1 billion in investment. So, and Databricks is a really interesting company. We can talk more about that. But the kind of the idea there is one of the ideas they're talking about is collaborative data science. So the conversation is kind of shifting from databases, which are the underlying technology, to data science, and all the things that businesses can do with data. And then, also, Snowflake also said that they're going deeper and faster into vertical industries. So this is another sign of just how the market is expanding for cloud databases. They're going into healthcare, finance, retail, and others. So all of this happened in January, right? Kind of setting the stage for, I think, what's going to be a pretty busy year.
John, what is it about, if a business person, a CMO, a CFO, somebody up there, a CEO wondering, why would I make this big investment in cloud databases after I've spent, X many tens of millions of dollars over the last 10 or 20 years on the traditional? Why would I move?
Well, so one of the things I want to do in this conversation, Bob, is talk about a few of the big trends that I see happening. One of them is that the industry is moving from databases to data platforms. Okay, so 20 years ago, the standard way of doing this was to deploy a database on a server in a data center, and then to build around it. And that required, a lot of resources. And it wasn't very flexible, and it wasn't very fast. So in the cloud and the world of data platforms, what we're seeing is it's faster, easier, cheaper to build a data environment. And so there's many advantages to that. And of course, this is a years-long process. So there's a lot of activity right now across the industry with hybrid database environments. So a lot of bridge building. Oracle just had an announcement for hybrid. AWS just built out their hybrid strategy. Google is pushing strong in that direction. Everyone's really kind of building out their infrastructure and their capabilities for hybrid, so that to support, the world that, from 20 years ago with this new modern way of working.
So, John, that's clearly something that is drawing staggering volumes of capital there, right? The wonderfully named Cockroach Labs, $160 million. That's a massive round of funding, but then 7 times higher for Databricks. So there's tremendous things going on here today. Do you see in general, are the cloud database vendors trying to position themselves in a way that said the old guard can no longer do this and this? We're able to do all these new things in the digital economy better? Is it an us versus them thing?
Well, it's definitely an us versus them thing. The traditional database vendors, there's a lot of interest among the newcomers in latching onto their customer base and getting that and pulling them in to the new world of cloud databases. But one of the points I would make is that this is going to sound a little provocative maybe, but legacy database vendors is an oxymoron. What do I mean by that? So look at Oracle. Oracle just came out with 21C on the Oracle database with more than 200 new capabilities. The Oracle autonomous database is growing at 65% in their most recent quarter, as we already noted here. And so this is what you're seeing is that, and just this week, I saw that Teradata, stock is growing. Why? Because of their new cloud database model. So the legacy database vendors are very quickly reinventing themselves in the world of cloud databases, and so they have pathways into this new world, and also it's really hard for a startup or a specialist to uproot, a traditional installed database because of all the know-how, all the best practices, and all of the skills that are built into that.
John, fascinating. We're going to come back and hear a little bit more about the cloud database report 1 second, but I just wanted to offer this word from our sponsor, BMC. BMC wants to know, is your business on its A game? That's when systems are intelligent by learning from markets, where automation is paramount yet effortless, and when technology and people work as one in an enterprise. The A game is your business at its absolute best. BMC calls this the autonomous digital enterprise. Find out more at bmc.com/A-game. So, John, no question, we see today the rise of the digital economy, every company understanding the power of data. So you've got this new wave of flexible tools, in many cases, new waves of flexible database, data platform companies moving in. Then you've got, as you said, everybody from Oracle, Microsoft, Teradata, and others trying to upgrade what they're doing here. So how does somebody, let's say I really wanted to understand this market and figure out what's going on, where can I go, John, to find out a little bit about this?
Well, so Bob, thank you for that. I mean, we're launching a cloud database report, this month, brand new editorial platform. I'll just mention what it is and where people can find it, and we can talk a bit about the content, like the analysis, the insights that will be a part of it. But the cloud database report will first of all provide an in-depth analysis on what's happening, a broad and deep view of the cloud database market, who the players are, the platforms, the trends, the user case studies, and most importantly, the business value. So that's what we will be doing. And I'm happy to say that the cloud database report can be found on Cloud Wars, the Cloud Wars site. It's just a natural fit for Cloud Wars and its focus on innovation, technology innovation, the pace of change in the cloud, business value. The cloud database report is a really good fit. We have kind of like a shared view, I think, of the direction that things are going there. In addition to the in-depth analysis, the report-like content, we'll be doing regular updates on Cloud Wars. So news and updates on what's happening in the industry. We will be launching a newsletter as well, and subscription is free. And I would encourage everyone to sign up on the Cloud Wars site. We welcome everyone. And then hopefully, Bob, we'll have more conversations like this, opening it up to people in the industry, in the cloud database market to join in the conversation.
John, yeah, thanks. And I keep spinning this around in my head, a number that you mentioned earlier. I think you cited Gartner as the source. So we're here in early mid-February 2021. So 22 and a half months from now, by the end of 2022, 75%, are they saying, of all enterprise databases will be in the cloud?
That's right. Yeah, they will either migrate to the cloud or be created in the cloud. So you really kind of have these two parallel activities underway, right? Moving existing databases from servers on premises into the cloud, and then also net new development.
And that's just an astonishing number, right? Because we hear over and over all the different sort of interesting comparisons that people come up with, like more data was created in the last hour than in the previous, 10 million years, and whatever the numbers are, but they're truly staggering. And the rate of growth of data seems just to be going up. So, what you're talking about here is a phenomenally big market. That's on the one hand, and on the other side of it, this is going to be, it's sort of like are these cloud databases in some ways like the central nervous system of the digital economy?
Well, yes. I mean, so digital transformation is one of the big things that really kind of ramped up in a big way in 2020. Many organizations realized they really need to build out their infrastructure, their systems, their capabilities. They needed to modernize, et cetera. And in most architectures and infrastructures, a lot of that ties back to the database. So, and there's a few things that we see happening that are contributing to this. So let me just hit on a couple of these points. So first of all, I would say that data grows by a factor of 1,000. So we often think, oh, something's 10 times bigger, 100 times bigger, but in the world of data, it's often 1,000 times bigger. One just quick anecdote, which I really found so interesting. When I was listening to Andy Jassy at reInvent, he gave the example in the early days at AWS. They got one of their customers, SmugMug, to deploy data in AWS's S3 storage platform, and it was 6 terabytes of data. And at the time, Jassy said, we couldn't believe it. Like, it was just this incredible amount of data, 6 terabytes. All right, no, fast forward to now. JP Morgan Chase talked at reInvent about 450 petabytes of data in a hybrid environment, part cloud, part on-prem. So I did the math on this, Bob. That's 75,000 times more data, okay, in 15 years. So in that one example, the world for AWS of big data went from 6 terabytes to 75,000 times bigger than that. So we're seeing this all over the place. I have with me, Bob, I'll share this with you. You'll appreciate this. This is the press kit from Microsoft's Scalability Day in 1997, which I attended in New York City. Now, at the time, this was when Microsoft was ramping up Windows NT Server and SQL Server, their database, to support enterprise workloads. And they were aiming for 1 billion transactions a day. But also, one of the challenges they had was getting the data set to do that. And they created a 1 terabyte data set. So you go back 20 years and 1 terabyte was big data. Now it's 1,000 times that. And beyond petabytes, we're hearing about exabytes, and then zettabytes, and then yottabytes. So you have to wrap your head around that. But this is the new world of cloud databases, is scale and elasticity. Okay, so let me just hit on a couple other things, Bob, while I'm on a roll here. Okay, I mentioned that databases are morphing into data platforms, and we talked a little bit about that. What's really interesting about that is the database itself is a repository, but in order to draw business value from it, you need all these surrounding infrastructure, things like data lakes, and being able to transform the data, being able to run analytics against it, and then distribute it. So this is happening. Virtually all of the database vendors and cloud database vendors are moving in the direction of data platforms. And sometimes you can go to a place like Snowflake, and you don't really see them talking about the database. They're talking about the data environment. A term I saw, which I really loved, was data communities. So this is the holy grail that the industry has been moving toward for more than 20 years, is taking data, centralizing it, and then drawing value from it and sharing it back out. Bob, I think sometimes, and this is not easily done, but businesses realize they have to do it. So I'm like one of those weekend athletes, right? And I'll run a 5K. And I get better data from that 5K within an hour than I do in the most business environments I've worked in. It's amazing. So you think about that. Oh, you know your pace, you know where you placed, you know how you did for each mile that you ran. You can see a breakdown of age groups and so on and so forth. Well, businesses need to be able to do this. They need to be able to do it for all their employees. They need to be able to do it for all their business operations. And so this is the direction things are going. It hasn't been easy, but I think that cloud databases move us closer to that. And I guess the last point I would make is one of the things that I'm so interested in is there's a lot of innovation, right? There's innovation at the software layer. There's innovation in the business model and the business models. One of the things I'm fascinated about is innovation in pricing. So this is another area where Snowflake is shaking things up a bit. They have what's called Snowflake on demand. So you don't have to sign a long-term license, but you can get usage-based per second pricing. It's consumption pricing model for the Snowflake data warehouse. That's pretty cool. Now, AWS takes that one step further, and just a few weeks ago, they announced millisecond pricing for their Lambda serverless offering. So that means that AWS customers can pay for 1 millisecond of AWS computing in a data environment. So, all of these things are happening. Big data sets and millisecond pricing at the same time.
So John, if I'm a business person on that and I'm trying to, morph my business into the digital world, data-driven business and so forth like that, I've got more choices than ever before. I've got better tools than ever before. And I think, one of the key things that you talked about, I'll be able to get past this cliche of democratization of data, and we're actually going to begin to have the tools now that will turn that into a reality. Is that right?
Exactly right, Bob. So the term business intelligence is, and it's something we've talked about for a long time, right? So I looked it up on Wikipedia. It was that term was first used in 1865, Civil War times. Okay, now it's still something that many businesses have not really gotten great at. Like, they may have business intelligence for some people within the company, but not everywhere it needs to be. And so this is happening now, I think. So getting back to the cloud database report, it's interesting because the database industry has always been one with these two big audiences or demographics. There's the developer audience. They're the ones that build, create things, manage them. And it can get really deep in the weeds very quickly. And we'll talk about this: SQL, NoSQL, XML, JSON, OLAP, ETL, tables and rows, and my favorite, sharding. So there's that. But then on the business side, it's business intelligence, data mining, discovery, predictions, recommendations, machine learning, right? So that's the business value side of it. So it's always been tricky to bring these worlds together. And I think that the time is here for that, for the world of the deep technology and the world of the broad business value coming together. And I really think that the world of cloud and cloud databases will facilitate that.
John, it really, it's a great overview of everything that's going on there and why this is so important to business people, why it's such an exciting area for technologists. And, as you see from those 10 different really intriguing things that happened just in the month of January, and it wasn't like, January is cloud database month. I mean, that's how things are happening now at a pace that's, as you pointed out, is going to be relentless. So, John, before we wrap up, please mention to everybody, what are the formats in which Cloud Database Report will be available?
All right, so Cloud Database Report is available on CloudWars, as I mentioned, and there's no registration required. Just go to CloudWars, and you can dig into the deep analysis that we're providing there, and then we'll also provide, our subscribers at no cost, just a steady flow of updates and resources and insights and analysis. And that will come in a newsletter. It will be in regular news posts on CloudWars, blog posts there you'll see. And then I think that we will want to keep the conversation going with this type of a podcast, inviting in guests from the industry and talk about what's happening out there. So we'll have the deep reports, the weekly updates, the newsletter, the podcast, and we're just getting started, Bob.
John, it sounds great. John, do you want to share a URL or your email address or social media handle, anything, so people would know how to reach you?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Bob. So, of course, I'm available on Twitter and LinkedIn. But my direct email address is jfoley09@gmail. And I would invite anyone to reach out. I have been talking to a lot of people from across the industry already. And I can say that every week I'm learning of new companies and platforms that I wasn't aware of. It gets back to the point we made at the beginning of this conversation, Bob, which is just the pace of change and innovation is so fast and furious that it can be hard to keep up with all that. And I hope that the Cloud Database Report can help everyone, get a better sense of what's happening across the market.
Well, John, that's great. Really a terrific conversation. I hope, you'll be able to say, somewhere in March that February was even more interesting and more lively than January was. It'll be a tough bar to exceed, but it sounds like this has got to be one of the most compelling, important, strategic, and valuable parts of the technology industry right now. So it's great to see that you're giving everybody a first row seat on it.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. And let's keep the conversation going because, as you say, there's going to be many checkpoints along the way here.
Wonderful, John. Thanks so much for being with us. And to all of you in our audience, thanks as always for being here with us at CloudWars Live. We hope to see you again soon. John Foley will be back every month to talk about what's going on in this crazy world of cloud databases. Thanks for being here.